1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, the site of the slaughter of 4 University of Idaho students, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. The house was demolished before the guilty plea by the mass murderer from Pennsylvania, leaving many questions about what happened the night of the murders. Tonight, we answer those questions as prosecutors release images of a model of the home, and we put the pieces together. But first, a desperate manhunt in Tennessee. 28-year-old Austin Drummond wanted for the brutal killings of 4 people, all from the same family in Tiptonville, Tennessee. James Wilson, Adriana Williams, Courtney Rose, and Braden Williams, whose bodies were discovered on July 29, 2025. A 7-month-old infant related to the victims was found abandoned earlier in a stranger's yard about 40 minutes away, sending shockwaves through the community. And all of this believed to be part of the targeted attack by Drummond, who had recently been released from prison and was out on bond at the time for attempted murder. And now tonight, the big news the community has been waiting for. Drummond is captured in custody, and we have all the latest details. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And yes, a successful capture tonight. And we are going to talk about this story. A story that really, it all started with a baby. Little Wesleyan, this little girl, 7 months old, found abandoned. Really bizarre. Why would someone just drop a baby on a yard, honk the horn, and then take off? Why would someone do that? Well, what happened was the baby was the beginning of the investigation. Looking for the adults connected to this child led them to 4 victims who were slaughtered. The little girl's mom, dad, grandma, and uncle, all murdered. So it went from a missing baby to 4 members of the same family slaughtered, a baby losing her family, into a dangerous manhunt. For a man who was on the loose, a man who was armed, a man who was dangerous and desperate, had just gotten out of prison. Really spent, he's only 28, but he spent almost his entire adult life behind bars. Recently released because he maxed out, but he also has an outstanding attempted murder charge. So this, I mean, now you're talking about facing the potential for these 4 murders, attempted murder. You already served a decade behind bars for a violent crime. This guy's dangerous and desperate, but apparently still in the same area of Tennessee. Neighbors had to be frightened out of their minds and checking their security videos like this one and spotting him trying to open doors in the middle of the night. Well, today is the best news possible for the community and for everyone associated with this case. He's been captured. He has been captured. He is in custody tonight. Let's take a listen to Chief Tom Corley from the Jackson Police Department making the announcement.
We're here today to confirm that Austin Drummond has been taken into custody. More importantly, his capture occurred without any further harm to the public or to any law enforcement officers. The outcome, as the director referred to, is the direct result of incredible coordination, skill, and determination shown by our local, state, and federal partners. It's a powerful example of what can happen when law enforcement agencies work together with the community who have a shared mission and a singular focus. As you're aware, for the past several days, law enforcement have been focusing on specific areas of the city based upon some intelligence, some physical evidence, and technology. From discovering the vehicle near MCO Road and the intelligence which led us to the area off of Pleasant Plains Drive, these type fugitive search operations are most typically made in a methodical fashion. When covering areas, particularly wooded areas, a cursory search is not sufficient for community safety. And I know that's difficult to have patience for. And I know several of you probably didn't get a lot of sleep because the helicopters flying around and the officers being in your neighborhood. And I know that's tough. But for the last few days, that's what's been transpiring. This morning, however, a couple of encounters with Drummond changed that methodical search to a dynamic one. Just after 8 o'clock a.m., we received multiple calls of sightings of the suspect. Placing resources there immediately resulted in an additional citizen's call at about 8:57 a.m. We took advantage of that quickly evolving situation and made the arrest at 9:05 a.m. I'd like to introduce you right now to Officer Trout, Officer Compton, and Officer Drown. They were there at the right spot and reacted immediately and are responsible for the apprehension of Austin Drummond. As this case moves forward, any additional charges or prosecutorial decisions from any actions that may have occurred within Jackson will be deferred to District Attorney Jody Pickens. We will continue to support his office and the TBI as this process unfolds and ensure that every step toward justice is taken thoroughly and properly. Today, again, we find some peace in knowing that the suspect is no longer a threat, but remain committed to the families, the community, and to justice. Thank you.
And folks there can exhale a little bit tonight and maybe rest a little more peacefully this evening as well. I can't imagine what it's like in an area like that, knowing that there is a alleged killer on the loose who has nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing to lose. Well, let's get some more details from all of this. Got a couple great guests joining us. Tennessee District Attorney General Danny Goodman Jr. is with us. And also joining us, Kiefer Engels from 101.5 WNWS News Talk in Jackson, Tennessee. Thank you both for being here. Danny, I'll begin with you. Are you shocked that this accused killer and convicted felon went quietly the way he did?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good feeling to be shocked in this manner. He was a violent offender that we already knew about, and we knew that he was armed. We knew that he was desperate, and I was just extremely concerned that it may not turn out as well as it did.
It's really amazing, and we have the photos here we're showing folks of the moment of capture. You rarely see this, but what a job by law enforcement coordinating with the public. Kiefer Engels, I know you had an opportunity to speak with Ricardo Contreras, someone who called 911 after seeing a man in the woods. Let's take a listen to a piece of that interview and get some more details from you.
We are working over here, and we saw the guy walking in the middle of the woods.
Thank you.
And we told, like, you know, nobody wants to walk in the middle of the wood in the middle of this stuff. So we was kind of like very sure it was the guy. So I called the police immediately when the guy was walking right there, and kind of like give them the location and everything. And they be hearing about, actually I was on the phone when they got here.
Unbelievable. Kiefer, just describe for us more information that you learned and the area where he was apprehended and spotted.
Yeah, so the neighborhood of Wynwood Hills, where as soon as we pulled up on scene, SWAT team was loaded up onto the back, and they were leaving. We had already gotten word that he had been captured, 45 seconds to a minute prior. We were heading around to where all the action was happening, and Ricardo was shaking hands with the SWAT guys and, congratulatory stuff, I guess. And then he was walking off and said, I guess I better get ready for the news to interview me. And I popped in and interviewed him right there.
Unbelievable. Danny, is that man going to get the reward? I know there was a big reward, and the public was very helpful throughout all of this. It's great to see the public and law enforcement working together.
Right, absolutely, and this could not have happened as smoothly as it did without the help of the public. As far as the reward goes, he's going to receive at least a portion of it. There were possibly more than one person that actually called in and gave information. So we're going to have to determine exactly who did and make sure that the right ones get that. But yes, there will be a reward for this.
Which You know, we always hear about those rewards going up. We're wondering, is anyone actually going to be able to help? And that's exactly what happened here. Exactly. Although my guess is, Kiefer, that this man would have called reward or no reward. I mean, folks have to be extremely relieved that an accused killer is no longer wandering through the neighborhood.
Absolutely. You know, I was covering the case and the story and everything, and I wasn't getting much sleep. Of course, the law enforcement as well, but the public. I mean, everyone you see on social media was the outcry of, oh my gosh, you know, what am I supposed to do tonight? How am I supposed to sleep? We had our schools started back today, so our public schools. So, I mean, it was a lot going on in Jackson today aside from this.
All right, Danny, what happens next now in terms of this case?
Austin will be arraigned Thursday morning in Lake County General Sessions Court. At that time, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty and let us know if he's going to hire his own counsel or whether he'll need an attorney appointed.
And is this the type of case that is eligible for a potential death penalty in Tennessee?
Yeah, you know, there are statutory requirements and aggravating factors that have to be met for the death penalty in Tennessee. He does meet the ones that we would need to prove for a death penalty case. So I'll be making that decision in the next day or two, and probably will announce that at the arraignment.
And the other question, Dave, that a lot of folks have, myself included, and not familiar with exactly how this all went. Our understanding was he was in prison, was then charged with attempted murder. Did he max out his prison sentence? And if so, was it normal to get bond for attempted murder?
Yeah, the way that process worked is he actually had two charges, or more than two, but two separate incidents that took place while he was incarcerated. The first was he had some drug charges. He had possession of methamphetamine with intent to sell or deliver, which was inside the prison. And we actually indicted him for that and brought him to court, started that process. And then while that case was pending, he has another charge for attempted murder of another inmate while he was incarcerated. We indicted him for that case also. He maxed out his sentence. So at that point, he had to be released from the Department of Corrections, and the Lake County, the local sheriff's department picked him up, took him to the local jail, and he made bond from there. He had a $30,000 bond for the drug charges and a $100,000 bond for the attempted murder. And as far as your question about the bond and whether that was normal to receive a bond, in the state of Tennessee, there's a constitutional right that every individual is entitled to a bond, with the exception of a capital case where we are seeking the death penalty.
Okay. Kiefer, what have you learned about his background? Do we know much about his family or connections to any of this? Any more details that you've been able to uncover?
Yeah, I mean, grew up in Jackson, Tennessee. He was in the same Dixie Youth baseball league as I was growing up. They're the same age. So, I mean, you know, a couple years after that is when he was arrested for his first, and what got him into prison for this. It was an armed robbery over on Highland Avenue here in Jackson of a gas station. So that's what got, you know, I guess his journey started.
Danny, let me ask you a few details here. Everyone's wondering about the why of it. And I'll ask you two questions at once. Do you know the motive in this case? And then the second question is, can you tell us what you believe the motive is?
Yeah, we are still working on that. We do feel like we have a good idea of what the motive is, but it's not something we can reveal at this time.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I just have to ask it that way, because otherwise people at home are going to say, Vinny, why don't you just ask him what it is? Well, sometimes you can't reveal certain things, but you feel at this point you're comfortable in understanding why he would have done this. Do you also understand why the little girl was spared?
The only thing I can tell you about that is he had some compassion. I mean, obviously, he's a very violent, ruthless person, but the only thing we know is he just did not have it in him to kill a child.
Kiefer, what has the public's reaction been to all of this? And, you know, beginning with the sparing of the child in the midst of wiping out an entire family. What's sort of the public temperature out there for this accused killer, the accused killer, Austin Drummond?
Austin Drummond.
Yeah, absolutely. What's sort of the temperature? What are folks thinking about him, and what's been the reaction to this? Because it's kind of really strange, the two extremes, like sparing a little innocent child, but wiping out mom, dad, grandma, and her uncle, allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, allegedly. I mean, it was a truly a very, just the most polarizing case I could imagine. I mean, you know, yes, he spares the child, but he also murders allegedly an entire family, pretty much. So, I mean, it was the public, you know, the opinion was terror. I mean, here locally in Jackson, everybody in the area, at least, was on edge for coming up on, I guess, what? It's a week that this has been going on, but they've been on edge for 5 days since they found his car.
Danny, in the course of the investigation, was there something about the discovery of the baby that you were able to track back to the family's home where the 4 bodies were found? How was that connection made?
Yeah, that's exactly how it started. The baby was left on the side of the road. And fortunately, once again, he blew the horn, got the attention of individuals who were outside, pointed to the baby and left. So, you know, at that point, we don't know who it is. We think maybe that the parents have abandoned the child. We don't know who the child is. So just start off by putting the child on Facebook. Does anyone know who this is? Within a matter of minutes, people started calling in saying they knew who the family was. So at that point, we start reaching out, and we're just looking for them because we think we're going to be charging them possibly with child neglect. And as we talked to family members, then they started to reveal that they had not heard from the mother, father, grandmother, and uncle of the child since the night before. So at that point, we started putting together that there was something else going on.
Let me tell you, Kiefer, the way Danny's describing this community and the incredible response, like working hand in hand with law enforcement. I cover cases all over the country, and sometimes they're at odds with one another. Sometimes there's the lack of cooperation, there's the lack of caring. But Danny says they post the baby, and in minutes they're already putting together these pieces. Pretty incredible.
Very incredible. I mean, it just speaks to this community. I mean, we're here in West Tennessee, and up there in Lake County, same deal. You know, these people care about everybody that's around here, and the law enforcement display that we got this week it makes everybody feel very safe. That's for sure.
Danny, any idea why he hung around and didn't? A lot of us are wondering, okay, he's had days. He could be anywhere, like anywhere, yet he's right there in the community.
Right. If you'll notice, we've arrested several other individuals also for accessory after the fact. And I think he had a lot of connections here. He had a lot of people who were still trying to help him. And I think in the last probably 2 days, all of that help was gone. The majority of them had been arrested, charged with a crime, and he didn't have that help. So I think he felt comfortable staying here because he did have assistance of others.
All right. Big thank you to both of you. You know, it's been a busy, busy day for both of you in your positions. Danny Goodman Jr., the Tennessee District Attorney General. Appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing your announcement at the arraignment in this case. And Kiefer Engels from 101.5 out there in Jackson, Tennessee. Thank you both so much. When we come back, we're going to bring in our think tank, get their reaction to everything that happened today and what will happen down the road. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a decorated veteran vanishes without a trace, and his wife's story begins to crumble under the weight of bloodstains and lies. Did Jennifer Gledhill murder Matthew Johnson while their children slept down the hall? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Did a lost letter lead to murder?
He acted in self-defense.
A misunderstanding over mail turns deadly.
Now the victim's neighbor faces life in prison.
The returned Mayo murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
To the families in Lake County who lost loved ones, Drummond's arrest cannot restore what has been taken from you. We only hope that we could have help give you assurance that justice will be had. And to the baby girl who will tell one day her story of survival, we look forward to all that you will do.
It's like a miracle baby. When you think about what happened, she's at home with mom, dad, grandma, and her uncle. Her uncle's 15 years old. And all four of them are murdered, but the alleged killer takes the baby, drives 40 minutes away, goes to a front lawn, honks the horn to make sure someone takes care of the baby, and then takes off. And it's the baby who leads to the bodies. Otherwise, these bodies wouldn't have been discovered for days. What's going on here? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, trial attorney fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers. And of course, he won Johnny Depp's defamation case. Ben Chu is with us. Criminal defense attorney Edwina Elcox is with us. And attorney Ali Benevento. Great to have you all here. Thanks for joining us. First topic. What do you make of this killer? Like, this is a man who's already done a decade for a violent crime, out on bond for attempted murder, accused of slaughtering 4 people, ages 15, 20, 21, and 38, takes out a family, but spares the baby and makes sure that the baby's taken care of. What do you think's going on with this guy?
Well, as a threshold matter, I don't know how he gets out on bond in light of the attempted murder charge and his record. But putting that aside, I'm not sure how much credit to give him. Obviously, it's a godsend that he spared the baby, but who knows what he was thinking.
Edwina, I was just speaking with the Attorney General who's going to be making the decision on whether or not to seek the death penalty here. What are your thoughts about the factors that are going to go into that decision, and how much weight is given to the fact that he showed some compassion for this baby, but no compassion for the 4 victims?
Well, we all know that death penalty cases are incredibly, incredibly difficult. I think that this is going to be a factor that he showed, maybe we can call it like a modicum of compassion in this case. And so maybe that's something that gets the death penalty off the table for him when he's accused of committing these horrific murders.
Ali, how important is the alleged motive going to be in making that determination, right? He couldn't reveal it, but they believe they know why this mass murder took place. How much is that in the mix when making the decision on whether or not to seek the death penalty?
I don't know that his motive is going to matter very much. At the end of the day, he is accused of killing 4 people, 2 young people, an entire family. Yes, he spared the baby, or allegedly spared the baby, but I don't know that his motive and why he may have done what he's accused of doing to these other 4 is going to matter. I think that this is a potential death penalty case, and if I am the district attorney, I don't know that I'm paying very much attention to the why. We have 4 dead family members.
Let's take a listen to the chief here talking about some of the calls they got and where the fugitive was staying while everyone in Tennessee was looking for him.
The first call we got, he was out in that area. The second call that we got that led to the apprehension, he had been in that area and was in the wood line, I believe, the wood line right behind that. So, but as far as the location where he was standing or staying overnight or during the day, yes, it was an abandoned or a vacant, I should say, a vacant building.
How long do you think he'd been in that pool house? I mean, was it
I couldn't tell you. Not right now. We're investigating that.
So, Ben, apparently he's staying in a pool house. 3 people who allegedly helped him while he was on the run, they got arrested. They got caught up in all of this. Yet he still didn't leave that area of Tennessee. He stayed right there. I almost feel like, Ben, like this is a guy who since the age of 18 has been in prison like maybe he's more comfortable in prison and just can't stand being a free man.
Vinnie, I think that's a really good point. I mean, maybe either consciously or unconsciously, he wanted to go back to the only place he knew.
And it's unusual, Edwina, that you have someone who, you know, at age 17 commits this horrific, violent crime, does a decade, maxes out, doesn't even get out on parole, gets into trouble while he's inside, attempted murder charges, drug charges while an inmate, and very quickly is now accused of quadruple murder. It seems like this is a guy who cannot function in society, and maybe the only place he can be is behind bars for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and there is a very small portion of the population where that is exactly accurate, Vinnie, where they just cannot be in society. They're too dangerous. They're too, I mean, the word is evil, right? Where they just are lacking that any scintilla of humanity, and they just need to be removed from the general population. And it seems like this might be one of those.
Allie, I'm still shocked, like Ben was, that he was granted bond. This is a guy didn't get out on parole because they knew he was dangerous. And now attempted murder is just like this close to murder, right? It's you attempted to do it, but you didn't succeed, and now we're going to let you out. Like, what did they think was going to happen when he was granted a bond that he was able to post?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that means for him that there is absolutely zero chance that he's getting a bond in this case. And he's not doing any favors to people across the country who are making arguments for why they should get a bond. He's certainly putting that in the judge's head for cases all across the country, that when you have somebody who's shown that they cannot behave while they're out on bond and that they cannot behave while they're in prison, it certainly makes it a very easy decision for the judge to just quickly deny bond.
Yeah, well, when you have a history, like your history is, like, violent criminal, can't let him out, he's too dangerous, we all know he's dangerous, he attempts to kill someone allegedly while in prison, but he maxes out, so now we let him out, and now there are 4 more bodies. We're going to continue to stay on top of this story, obviously, but coming up next, Think Tank staying with us, take a look at this. This is a photo of the model of 1122 King Road from the Idaho 4 case. This is what they were going to use to show the jury instead of taking them to the actual house. But this information we have now gives us a lot more information about what happened inside that house. We're going to break it down for you next.
Of course, we are here at that King Road location where Ethan Chapin, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonsalves tragically lost their lives in November of 2022. And as you look behind me here, I'll step out of the frame a little bit. You can see that house is no longer here. They demolished it in December of 2023. There's still, though, memorials left out here, some stuffed animals, some flowers. Obviously, this community still really cares for these 4 young students.
The house isn't there anymore. They knocked it down. So what were they going to do at the trial? To try to get this jury to understand what the crime scene was like, prosecutors had a model of the home built, like a miniature model, like a dollhouse. Take a look. We've gotten some images of it, and it gives us a better picture now of the scene and who was where. If you look on the left, Xana Kernodle's room on that second middle floor. You can see where the window is and where her room was. You look on the right and you can see Kaylee's room and Maddie's room up on the 3rd floor, the top level. But you also see on that middle level, the same as Xana's level, the sliding door to the kitchen and where Dylan Mortensen's room was on that floor, the one who saw the guy with the bushy eyebrows as he was walking through the kitchen. Let's move now and take a look at an aerial view of the home with the roof off. Again, they were going to use this model to try to explain to the jury the crime scene. And here we see where Xana Kernodle's room was. Again, on that middle level, you can see sort of the layout of the room and where it is in relation to the stairwell. And then you go to the top level and you see Kaylee's room, which is a little bit larger, no window, and then Maddie's room, a little bit smaller, next to the bathroom, where it does have windows, and you can see that deck that they had outside of there. Now, what I want to do, let's continue to take a look. I'm going to show you the stairs now. So this gives you an idea of where the stairwells are. So you've got the stairs going from from the second floor down to the first floor. You can see where they are in reference to Xana's room. You would go up those stairs from the first floor. You'd make a right going towards the kitchen area, and you can see Xana's room. And then you can see the stairs that would be used to go from the second floor to the third floor, and then back from the third down to the second floor on this graph. Now, as we pull it out, let's take a closer look now so you can see what the rooms look like. Okay, these are photos of the actual rooms. This is Kaylee's room where her dog Murphy was found. So that was actually the larger room, again, with the slider going out to the deck, but only the dog was there. Let's take a look now at where Maddie and Kaylee were found stabbed to death. That's that room in the far corner, a smaller room. So when you open that door, there's very little space. There's nowhere to go. You'll remember the descriptions of them being trapped in there because there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. Now, as we go outside of the room, what you're going to see now is the area where you can see the stairs on your right, the bathroom to your left, and that door that's open, that's the door to Maddie's room where Kaylee and Maddie were found dead. So you can see if you come up the stairs, you make that quick right-hand turn, and then you would end up inside of that room. Now, let's go down one level now, and we can see the kitchen. And the kitchen is crucial because it has, you can see the sliding doors, and that may very well have been the point of entrance coming through those sliding doors into the kitchen. And what we can also find on that same second floor, another important part would be where the other two victims were found. As we move now to Xana's room, where Xana and Ethan were found stabbed to death on that second floor. It's a larger room which sits over where the kitchen is on the, or sits, doesn't sit over the kitchen, but is next to the kitchen as you come out. And finally, I want to show you this stairwell and this common area that shows the stairs going from the first floor up to the second floor. And that would have been, those would have been the stairs that Dylan would have gone down to go be with Bethany that night after she saw the masked man with the bushy eyebrows that night. So with the model, we're getting a much better idea of perspective of where everything is. And here to help unpack some of these newer details, former homicide detective Chris McDonough, the host of The Interview Room with Chris McDonough. Chris, great to see you. Interesting to see the layout of the house now through this model. What are some of the first things that you're taking away from that?
Well, it kind of, I think they were prepared to show this, to the jury because it kind of gives them this perspective of, okay, here's the totality of the circumstances. And they would have been able to explain, obviously, Vinnie, where each of those victims were, in positioning in relationship to the point of entry. But the first thing that jumped out at me is the suspect, Koberger, he had to have had knowledge of the interior of this residence. I mean, you just don't show up in the middle, 4 o'clock in the morning and slaughter 4 people and not intimately know what that interior of that house looked like.
Absolutely, and you know which room you're going to on that top floor because one room's got a dog in it, right? And the other room has the 2 victims. The other thing that struck me, Chris, was the size of Maddie's room, not large. And if you put a bed in there, once he opens that door, there's like nowhere to go.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and it basically, what you were talking about a minute ago is they're trapped. They cannot get out of there at all. And what's also interesting, Vinny, is if you go behind the house there, as you're aware of with that parking lot, you have a direct shot into that eyesight, into that bedroom as a whole. It's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, and here we're taking a look at it from behind, from the vantage point you're talking about. And there you can see the room that they were in. So if the light's on, the light's off, if the blinds are up or down, you know what's going on in that room ahead of time.
Yeah, and if you look down at the bottom there at Dylan's room, at the bottom there's a cylinder block. I've always wondered, thinking through the personality before they caught him, what, the voyeurism aspect of this. Was he using that block down there to sit on and just kind of peep in, like a peeping Tom scenario for the lower rooms? Of course, that's a hypothesis, but at the same time, it wouldn't be out of the realm of somebody like Kohberger.
Chris McDonough, the interview room with Chris McDonough. Great to have you on the program. Thanks so much, Chris. Great to see you.
Thank you, Vinny. Appreciate the invite.
Let's bring back in our think tank, Ben Chu, Edwina Elcox and Ali Benevento. Edwina, are you still surprised? Because I was from the beginning of this, that the house was demolished and they were going to use this to try to explain the crime scene to the jury. What are your thoughts about replacing the actual crime scene with this miniature model and trying to help the jury understand what happened?
I was shocked. It's unusual to take a jury to the scene of the crime, but it's obviously not unheard of. We have the O.J. Simpson trial as an example of jurors going to. Exactly. So I was shocked that they destroyed the house, demolished the house. Although the 3D rendering does give us a sense of it, I don't think it's the same as walking through as in real time and seeing these rooms, this house, the sense of the tragedy. I was shocked. I was shocked.
Ali, every trial ultimately is a search for the truth, and I didn't understand in this case why both sides, I get it from the defense, right? Because he's guilty, he admitted it. We kind of knew he did it all along, but he finally admitted it. But if you want the jury to get to the truth, show them the best evidence available, and nobody was interested in taking the jury to the crime scene.
Yes, I agree with Edwina 100%. There is absolutely no substitute for taking a jury to the actual crime scene and allowing them to walk through and see things from their own perspective, both for the prosecution and the defense. When you are telling a story to a jury about what happened, they need to be able to visualize that for themselves. Photographs are great, this dollhouse is great, but there's absolutely no substitute for letting that jury walk through the scene themselves.
Yeah, and going in, thank goodness we got the guilty plea, and you don't have to prove the case, Ben. But I think it would have been a little bit of a challenge because there were a lot of things like Dylan Mortensen witnessing the bushy eyebrows and having perspective and space and everything else. In the Karen Reed case, it helped the jury. It raised some of their doubts for them. In this case, they decided to go a different direction. Like, yeah, the model is great if you didn't have the actual house, but you did have it until you didn't.
Yeah, I agree with Ali and Edwina and you. I mean, it verges on spoliation. I mean, if I were the prosecutor, I would definitely want to take the jury there. And if I were the defense, I mean, it creates an inference of reasonable doubt. I mean, it's not here. Where's the house?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like one of the most important pieces of evidence in the case. Next to the DNA on the knife sheath, obviously. Great job tonight, Ben Chu, Edwina Elcox, and Ali Benevento. Great to have you on the program. Thanks so much. All right, folks, when we come back, I'm going to reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a mother of three, a missing husband, and a bedroom soaked in bleach. What was Jennifer Gledhill so desperate to erase? As the search for her husband's body continues, will the truth finally be unearthed? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
This is terrible. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial, August 19th, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Take a look at the big board. Oh, trial day one, brand new case here on Court TV. The dismembered wife murder trial. Nicholas Casotis is the defendant. Kelly Craft, Court TV legal correspondent, is in Liberty County, Georgia, south of Savannah, with the latest from day one.
Hi there, Vinnie. I'm outside the Liberty County Justice Center, and right behind these doors and up to floor 3 is where the trial of Nicholas Casotis is taking place. And this trial, it is an interesting one, Vinnie. Defense counsel said in opening statements today that his client is accused of doing the unthinkable, not only murdering his wife, but also dismembering her. And Vinnie, when Casotis walks into the courtroom, he carries legal pads. He is no stranger to a courtroom, serving as a JAG attorney for a number of years in the Navy. But could he be capable of murdering his wife? Defense counsel says Casotis did not do this.
Call it what you will. Clorox wipes, things you use to clean up. Those wipes were everywhere. There were lots of them that were recovered. Because the killer didn't want to leave behind evidence. I submit to you that killer was a prosecutor. I submit to you that the evidence is going to show that he would have known to clean up.
Mr. Casotis lied to his friends. He lied to his family. He lied to Mindy's loved ones. He lied for years. Not because he wanted to deceive them, but because he believed that their lives depended on it.
On the stand Tuesday, we heard from law enforcement and some of the hunters who found body parts of Mindy's. The hunters described how it was the weekend after Thanksgiving. A bunch of them got together to go on their annual hunting trip. One of the hunters shot a deer. When he went to go retrieve the deer, he saw what he thought was a hog. That was his testimony. But then he realized it was a torso. That torso belonged to Mindy Method. This trial gets back underway at 9 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday.
Kelly Craft down in South Georgia. What a case, what a trial. Obviously, we'll continue to cover it here on Closing Arguments. All right, folks, take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Alezae, Lilly, and Martinez. Alezae has been missing since July 23rd out of Fresno, California, just 16 years old. So here's what you need to do. If you see Alezae, pick up the phone. Make a call, make a difference. You can call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or the Fresno Police Department in California. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Alezae to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.